here. Welcome to the Tuesday point and shoot update for Mollywood for January the 15th, 2019. This week things are looking good in Mollywood, although I do need to do another water change. Nitrates tested out at around 35, and my goal here is to find the point where nitrates start to climb so that I can get ahead of them with a water change. So far I've been able to get them down as low as 10 to 15, but I haven't got myself organized enough to do the testing that I need to do to find out when they start to climb. I'm thinking it's roughly every 3 or 4 days. And part of that is probably because the Silicone isn't quite yet colonized with denitrification bacteria, so I may have to wait a little while. It's been in there probably 8 weeks, so there's a ways to go yet before I can start counting on it to reduce the nitrates via bacterial means. I could also dose Nopox, but I'm going to hold off on that until I see how things go over the next month or so with the Silicone. And speaking of Silicone, one of the comments I had in my Silicone project video, Arts and Crafts with Reefgrrl, was regarding the possibility that Silicone might leach silicate because it's made from sintered glass. When I did the research into it, I found nothing that specifically said, yes, it leaches silicate. There was some speculation in certain cases where people were having silicate-related problems with their tanks that perhaps the Silicone might be the source, but nothing that definitively said it leaches silicates. Just for the heck of it, I bought a silicate test, and when I tested, I found that there is no detectable level of silicate in this tank. So on the one hand, that's good because it means my Silicone is not leaching, at least not yet. On the other hand though, my red finger sponge could really benefit from silicate because sponges need silicate to grow. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this, and if necessary I might consider dosing sodium silicate to see if I can get some small detectable level without any detrimental effects on the overall tank. Last update I talked about discussing the equipment that I use in this tank, and I'll just give you a brief overview of that. Here's what the back looks like. And starting with this side, we've got the auqashield UV sterilizer. And you can see that it's on, the light is on, and you can also see that my little filter pads here are very dirty. So I'm going to be taking those out once I'm done the video and replacing them so that we don't end up with too much crud going down into the back chambers. Right there are some nitrate removal pads, at least that's what they're supposed to do, but as I do have levels of nitrates in here that are of concern, I guess I'll have to wait and see. In here I also have my Finex titanium 150 watt heater. Then in the center there's the hose from the Tunzi Osmolator top off. It's the nano version. I believe it's 3152 maybe is the number, not 100% sure, but that's where the water goes in from the ATO. And going over to the other side, there is the Ghost skimmer, and it's actually working. The skimmate isn't super dark and mucky, but that could partly be that I don't allow much detritus through on either end of this thing. The other overflow at the other side also has filter floss and a filter pad in the filter sock, so not much gets through. However, anything that's dissolved will get picked up by the skimmer. For flow, I use 2 high door flow units, and these things just spin around slowly. You can see they're slightly offset, so one is on a bit longer hose than the other, and that kind of offsets the water flow as well. What I don't like about them is that they're slightly out of the water, and because of that I get salt spray all over the lid, and I don't really care for it. I do have 2 random flow generators on the way, and once I get those I'll put them on here and see how the flow changes. I may still use one of these units. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to wait and see how things go. On this side of the tank, I have a Jebao SW4, just a small unit. If I don't have this on, my xenia get blown around like crazy. As it is now, they pulse beautifully. I just love them. But if I turn off the Jebao, they just get battered by the flow that comes from the two return nozzles. So although I thought I might be able to remove the SW4, I think I'm going to leave it in there. So do a little coral tour. You can see there's a baby still growing behind the large adult there. George is looking good. One new addition is this. It was a snail frag in the other tank, and so I picked it up off the sand and put it in here. Right now it has been irritated by a couple of hermit crabs that have been passing through, so it's not fully open, but when it is fully open it is really nice, and it seems to be doing well in this spot. As usual, I have a frag rack. Here's a selection of zoanthids that I ordered online when I ordered my bucket list coral. Ooh. And I got these as well. And it's my practice to put them on a frag rack for a little while to observe them in case there's any pests that show up right away. Of course, that doesn't stop pests from showing up at some point down the road, as happened with my watermelon zoanthids right there that had the aptasia. I put out a video about having peppermint shrimp, and they did an awesome job getting rid of the aptasia, and this thing is finally fully open again. Right above there is turning out to be my pride and joy. Was sold to me as a weeping willow toadstool, but I don't know that it's a true weeping willow, in the sense that when the flow is off, the tentacles do not flop over. They do stay upright. But I love the color. It is a beautiful pinkish color. And when I look in the tank, this is the color that I see. It's not filtered or anything like that. Other things are doing okay. The green Yuma has never really expanded to a huge size, and it's quite possible it gets too much flow there. So I may need to look for another spot for it. These guys open and close whenever they feel like it. This one, last night I discovered there was a huge vermeted snail right in the middle of those closed up polyps. So I was able to remove it completely, and I've noticed since then about twice as many polyps have opened up. So it must really have been irritating them. I also moved this zoanthid, which had been in that spot, kind of, you can see through the tentacles, it's kind of white. It was there, but I think it was getting bothered by the tentacles of the toadstool here. So I moved it there, and since then it has been opening regularly, although of course right now it's not open. It's, I think, Ninja Turtles. It's really pretty green with yellow. Cyphastria project, we are getting a very, very tiny amount of encrustation. So that's great. I don't know what that stuff is that's growing on it. Probably some sort of a macroalgae. And coming down to here, this one is also encrusting, or starting to encrust. You can see below. So that's great. Looking, I'm just laughing because of the photobombing mollies. Looking through here at the war coral, I need to move it up against the rock again, but it seems to be doing okay. I regularly see tentacles out on it, just short ones, but they're there. And this one as well. Yeah, you can see there it does have some tentacles out. So that's good, that's a good sign. Something I moved from the other tank is this, the Lobophilia. It really was not doing well in the other tank because it kept getting knocked over. And so I have it kind of in the center front here. My plan is to move it into that spot. Now that the toadstool's gone, I just haven't done it yet. And the Corky Sea Finger is doing just great as always. It's wonderful to watch this thing swaying in the flow. And then you can see that this one is getting polyps. They're always out. It looks great. My other gorgonian at the back is, I wouldn't say it's doing super good, but it still puts out its little furry polyps, so I guess I'll just have to wait and see. So overall the tank is doing well, in spite of the nitrates being higher than I'd like. That's just something I'll have to work on. One thing I have to clean up is this along here. I don't have any sand sifting snails yet other than the Nacerius. I know if I get some conch snails, they would probably take care of a lot of what's going on the sand with the green and the algae. The mollies do pick at it regularly though. And in the last update, I talked about the light. And I have a new light. I'll be doing a video about it, so I won't give you too many details, but I just love the sleek look of it. Not attached to the tank, it's actually hanging from the ceiling, just like I have on the large tank. So when I walk in the room, it looks very sleek. So that's this week's update. I do have videos to come specifically about the UV sterilizer, the skimmer, and the auto top off. And I'll also be doing a video about the new light. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you.